Hi Shelby, I'm just looking at your thumbnail here. I mean, if you wanted to bring this into Illustrator, I just set this up as a regular 8.5 by 11. Actually, what we should do, so you would just do a file new. You'd probably want to go to print and you'd go to, let's go to tabloid. This is actually the size of the poster design. We want to be in CMYK color, so if you need to open that up, raster effects of high, and then create. Then do your file place, bring in your, let's see, bring in your image. I think this is it. Yeah. This is the one that I was liking quite a bit, but it's totally up to you what you decide to go with. I do like the other border on the other idea. You could combine it with this idea. So that border from the other idea onto this would be nice. So in our layers panel, with this, we could name this reference, if I can spell it. And then we could also just lock it down so it doesn't move around a lot. And then we could add another layer on top. We could do outlines. And this is where we could do just the outlines of the drawing. And I would suggest using the pencil tool under the shaper tool right here. And just, working your way around with the pencil tool. Obviously I'm using a trackpad, but you can start making shapes. This is just super rudimentary, but and just create your shapes using the pencil tool. Sometimes it will create a new shape, which is sort of annoying, like it just did. So you kind of have to get the feel for it. If you start connecting lines, it'll do that. So you have to get off of it first and then create your new line after you have it no longer selected, and it won't do that if you do it that way. The nice thing about the pencil tool, if you double click on it, you can change the smoothness of your line. So if you want it to be a little bit more accurate, you can do that. It will close paths with ends within 15 pixels, which is good. Just make it look like this. Edit selected paths will keep your paths selected, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because if you end a line, you can start back up again, but it's bad if you want to create a separate shape later because it's still selected and it'll just go to the new shape. But the way to get around that is just to kind of click off and deselect and then add your new shape after that. So you just have to get used to the feel of the pencil, but once you get it, it's cool because it actually works really well with the width tool, which looks like this. It kind of looks like a banana. And you can kind of just create variations in your line, which is nice. It also works really well with the pen tool because you can add extra anchor points. Like maybe I want to add another anchor point there, use my white arrow, and just maybe I want to bump here. So I just add an anchor point, use the white arrow, and just, I can move it around. Sometimes you have to shift click on your anchor points to get those to move around. Adding color in later, if you shift click on all of your, to get everything selected at the same time, you can also drag over everything. And you can use the paint bucket tool, I believe. I haven't used it for a bit, but I think it's the live paint bucket tool. It's under the shape builder tool. And you can just start, let's see. You can just start adding in colors, which I am not on a color right now. If you use your keyboard, you can cycle through what's in your swatches. So if you want to use custom colors, just add them to your swatches first. But you can use your keyboard, your left or right arrow keyboard, to find those. And if I want more swatches, if I want more colors in here, I can always just, okay, maybe I want a different color. Maybe I want this color. Let's see. Cancel. Oops. I didn't do that right. Sorry. So we find a color that we like, and then we can just control click over here. Command, is it control? Command? No. Go over here and then just drag it down into the swatches. I thought there was an add to color swatch button here, but I don't know, maybe that will add it if you do it. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, so if I want to get to that color, I can just cycle through till I get to it, which can take a while, which I don't know exactly which one it was, but, and then you can change them with the live paint bucket tool. Okay, so that's just one way of constructing this in Illustrator. And then you can use this tool here, the rounded rectangle, you know, if you want to create a rounded rectangle. If you want to make it a little odd, you can always, you know, move these things. If you push Shift, you can do this one separate from the others. If you push Shift and click on those things, you can just do one of them. Sometimes it works. It's a little finicky, but see. So, and you could maybe stack a couple of them on top of each other to create your, you know, to create your little. This might be a different color or something. You know what I'm saying? So this might be really cool to do in Illustrator with the pencil tool, with the shape tools combined. And you might want to do the background, or unless you have an image of the background. If you have an image of the background, you can totally use an image. Just make sure it's really high res. So if you took it yourself, that could work. It's snowy right now, so if it's not already on your phone, you might have a hard time finding an appropriate summery scene now that it's snowy out. But maybe it'll melt. Maybe it's still possible to have it look not too wintry. But yeah, I think this is a really great idea. And if you do your outlines, I guess you could do the color that way. There's also a different way to do the color that's kind of cool to experiment with. Let me just simplify this a little bit. So if let's say we didn't do it this way. Let's say we're using the pencil tool. I'm creating this. Okay, and then I'm gonna, I think you can edit deselect maybe your object. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, and then, you know, let's make the foam real quick. I'm gonna actually close it maybe. And then that's super rudimentary, but maybe I want to use the width tool to create a little bit of, like, you know, variation in my line here and there. Maybe I want to change the stroke profile here. You know, maybe I want it more like this, or this is also a nice thing about the pencil. You can change the stroke profile. I'm just going to make it uniform though. And then, anyway, I'm getting off track here, but you can, with the pencil tool, do a lot with the lines. And then we might want to just add color on a separate layer and put it underneath the outlines and work in the color layer make sure you're always in your color layer, but you can actually use this. Let's use the blob brush tool and let's load a color that we want. Maybe I want like this color or something. Oops, I didn't mean to fill it in with that, but okay, so I'm on the blob brush tool and I kind of like to have my layers panel open. I don't know why. Make sure I'm in the right layer, and then oops, is that not working? Oh, there we go. So, and then we can just kind of work on filling in this color with that. It's underneath. I might want to make my brush bigger, so I can always double click, make the size a little bit bigger, push OK, and then maybe just fill in that shape. Now it's too big. If you use your left or right bracket, you can make it smaller or bigger. And then maybe I want, and it's always the stroke with the blob brush. The blob brush is located underneath the paintbrush, the regular. And the nice thing about the blob brush is it makes one solid blob of color instead of the paintbrush. With every time you let up, it makes a new stroke, which is kind of messy and becomes it bogs down your computer pretty bad if you use the paintbrush. But just make sure you stay in the color layer, and then you can and it's underneath the outlines, so whatever we put in here, it has a looser effect when you do it this way as opposed to using the paint bucket. So it will have a little bit of a looser effect a lot of the time. Sometimes you might accidentally go outside of the line, but actually sometimes that looks those little imperfections sometimes look pretty good. And actually I really like this effect of using the colors on one layer and the outlines on the other. And you can even do medium colors, and then you could do shadows if you really want to get detailed, and highlights. So you could even have a highlight layer where you're like, okay, I'm gonna add some highlights to my glass now using the blob brush tool. Just need to load it in there, and you know, maybe I want some highlights on this glass, and then I want some shadows, so I need to get it, you know, and if you're in the layers panel, and if you didn't put it in the right one, you can select them after the fact. I think I got another, I don't know what I did there, but you can select them after the fact and put them in the highlight layer by grabbing them and putting that little dot, and now you can see they've turned the color of the highlight layer. Just make sure you have your layers panel open if you're using this technique instead of the paintbrush. I do think that this is more of a hand-drawn look when you do it this way. Obviously, you're going to be taking your time with these and the pencil, and you're going to be doing more fine detail work. Yeah, so it's not going to look exactly like this. If you have a Wacom tablet at home, that really will help you because you can use like a pen on your Wacom tablet. Of course, they cost money. I mean, I don't know how much exactly they are. I think they're under $200, but you can plug those into your computer and use them in conjunction with Illustrator, and they're really nice for like drawing digitally. But if you're not, then you're just gonna have to use the mouse, which is totally doable. It might be cool to just do the mug like this and maybe these wheat, and the background would actually be relatively easy to do. You know, you might just make a new layer for the background and then put that underneath everything else, except for the reference, obviously. But anyway, just wanted to give you a few techniques that you could explore with this. All right, talk to you later. Bye. Oh, and actually, I forgot to say too, you might want to think about, you know, creating the mug graphic separate and then maybe even doing a photo for the background, or if you want to do that separate in Illustrator, you can do that. But put all your text in InDesign. So bring this into InDesign and put the text in there in InDesign if possible, just because we're supposed to be mostly utilizing InDesign. You can place the Havertrails logo in, you can bring in, the frame might be a separate thing that you make in Illustrator, or you might just put it together in InDesign, because InDesign does have the capability to make that frame, I believe. But anyway, now I'm done. All right, talk to you later. Bye.